I'm Joe Lample. When I created Growing a Greener World, I had one goal: to tell stories of everyday people, innovators, entrepreneurs, forward-thinking leaders who are all, in ways both big and small, dedicated to organic gardening and farming, lightening our footprint, conserving vital resources, protecting natural habitats, making a tangible difference for us all. They're real, they're passionate, they're all around us. They're the game changers who are literally growing a greener world and inspiring the rest of us to do the same. Growing a greener world, it's more than a movement, it's our mission. In 1982, former First Lady, Lady Bird Johnson, and actress Helen Hayes co-founded an organization dedicated to protecting and preserving North America's wildflowers and native landscapes. First known as the National Wildflower Research Center and later the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center, this beautiful place exists to introduce people to the beauty and diversity of native plants and wildflowers. Every day, the Wildflower Center brings life to Mrs. Johnson's vision in its public gardens, its woodlands, and sweeping meadows, as well as with internationally influential research. Decades ago, Mrs. Johnson recognized that our country was losing its natural landscapes and its natural beauty. As much as 30% of the world's native flora is at risk of extinction. The Wildflower Center was intended to help preserve and restore that beauty and the biological richness of North America. With a powerhouse of talented staff, such as senior botanist Damon Waite, the center has become one of the country's most credible research institutions and effective advocates for native plants. Now, when you come to the Wildflower Center, everything you see here is going to be a native plant because that's what they specialize in. But it takes a team of top experts to keep up with it all, such as Damon Waite, the senior botanist. Damon, talk about how the Wildflower Center became such a national resource.
Well, our founder, Lady Bird Johnson, had the vision, and we were established as the National Wildflower Research Center in '82. So we've always had a national outreach mission. It just so happens we also have a botanic garden here in Central Texas.
That makes sense. Also, talk about, you hear so many definitions of native plants, kind of like heirlooms. What's your take on natives? What are they really?
Well, natives, for us, natives are those plants that exist naturally in a given area without human introduction.
Okay, that's simple enough. Damon, one of the most popular topics of discussion is in using native plants with sustainable landscape design. Talk about why that's so important.
Well, Joe, all plants are sustainable or green, if you will. They all do photosynthesis and produce life-giving oxygen. They also sequester carbon.
Ah, yes, carbon sequestration. Now, that's sometimes a topic a little bit difficult to get our arms around. We hear it all the time. Essentially what that means, though, is a plant's ability to pull carbon dioxide, a greenhouse gas, out of the atmosphere and store it in the plant's tissue. So yes, chalk one up for all plants being green, but there's more to the story.
Right, so there's a lot that native plants can do that not all plants can do, and I break it up into 3 sections. Ecosystem services. Native plants are like puzzle pieces in the ecosystem puzzle, and they provide important food and habitat for pollinators and other wildlife. Number 2, when you use native plants in your plant landscape, you're going to reduce your reliance on pesticides, fertilizers, even water consumption, reducing your carbon footprint. And 3, and for me personally, this is the one that means the most, is native plants give us a sense of place. They tell us where we are in this great world of ours.
Perfect. Absolutely they do.
Joe, in contrast to all the benefits that native plants bring, there are some really bad actors out there, invasive species.
Absolutely, and let's get that definition on the table. But one myth I want to dispel is the fact that just because it's an invasive doesn't mean that it came from another part of the country or from Europe for that matter.
Right, let's not get people confused. Native is about where it's from, invasive is about its impact on the environment or the economy.
Sure. Now this is an area here where it's a naturalized area. You have a lot of those on the garden, and it doesn't get policed as often. It's not as cultivated as the other parts of your garden.
Right, so we pride ourselves on being a native plant botanic garden, but we're under attack in our natural areas by plants like these.
Which is what?
This is Malta star thistle. It's a huge problem out west. In fact, invasive species cost the U.S. economy about $135 billion a year.
Oh my gosh.
I know it, and you know what? They're the second greatest cause of native plant extinction, second only to habitat destruction.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah, Joe, I think Lady Bird Johnson said it best. She said, Damon, those are plants that have no socially redeeming value.
Perfect definition. Now there's a lot more to know about invasives and natives, and the Wildflower Center has a great resource no matter where you live at wildflower.org, but we'll put that link on our website at growingagreenerworld.com. All right, so the cool thing about the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center, it's not just about wildflowers and native plants, it's about all kinds of native species, including rattlesnakes. Although native plants have certainly earned a place on the list of what's cool in sustainable gardening, there still seems to be a pushback between what people are saying and what actually goes in the ground. Steve Winhager is Director of Landscape Restoration, and he knows a thing or two about some of the reasons why. Now, with all the talk about the benefits of using native plants, a lot of us are wanting to use more of them in our landscapes and gardens. But really, when the rubber hits the road and we go to that garden center to buy those plants, oftentimes we end up getting the same old, same old. Steve, do you find that to be the case as well?
Of course it is, because all of us are in a rut and we are using what we're most used to. And also, we were worried that our neighborhood or our design areas won't respect the spiny, sticky, messy plants that we most of us think about when we think about native plants. But the truth is, that's not the only way you can design. This is a naturalistic design style that we have here at the Wildflower Center, and it's great for some people, but not great for everybody. It's not where I'd want my kids to go play in the backyard.
Yeah, good point. And this is probably the minority of people that would choose this style of using native plants in the design. But the cool thing is that you've got some other great examples to show us.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh yeah, now this is probably more typical of what most Americans imagine for their backyard design, because you have the lawn and you have the shrubs and you even have the trees. But in this case, they're all native, right?
That's correct. This is buffalo grass lawn, which is native across most of the U.S.
Now that's a great point right there, because in America, lawns are sort of getting a bad rap right now because of the chemical inputs and the watering requirements and even the maintenance involved. But I imagine with a native lawn like buffalo grass, none of those issues are a problem.
That's correct. And we even have native plants across the entire perimeter. And those native plants are great, but this is a Texas garden, and if these native plants aren't the right ones for your garden, we have other alternatives for you across the U.S. on our website.
Now this is a semi-formal design, but in some cases the formal design is more appropriate. But I don't think many people consider native plants because they don't think it fits the bill.
Well, that's correct, but we have an example of one that will.
I knew you'd say that. Now this is the formal garden, and there are several ways to tell that. First, by the shape of the plants, the way they're sheared, but also the use of the hardscapes, the central axis, and the 90-degree angles. But here, they're all native plants.
That's exactly right. We have some great native plants that we can use in an environment like this. These are a dwarf Yaupon holly that can be trimmed into a shrub, into a box-like format. We also have our eastern red cedar, which can be sheared as a giant Mediterranean cedar and really looks fantastic in that way.
It sure is. And another plant that I love is the agave, as long as you have the hardiness zone for it. But with that structural form, it's perfect in the formal environment.
You bet. It's a great opportunity to use a spiny, sticky plant in a more formal way.
Absolutely. Now, no matter what your preference for landscape design, native plants provide great solutions.
Establishing native plants at home helps make your landscape a healthy, low-maintenance yard and will attract local wildlife. Certified wildlife habitats are a great way to know you're doing your part, and there are more than 130,000 across the country. Creating a certified habitat includes using sustainable gardening practices and providing food, shelter, water, and a place for wildlife to raise their young. Not far from the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center in the sprawling hills and valleys of Northwest Austin, you'll find the home and certified wildlife habitat of Dale and Pat Bulow, retired school teachers who moved to Austin in 1998. They're active members of the Native Plant Society, the Audubon Society, and more, and have organized native plant rescues at construction sites. Their landscape and garden serve as a shining example for suburban habitat design and a model of sustainability. But it wasn't always like that. So there are quite a few things that we can do to attract wildlife, and one of them is to provide food for the wildlife.
Good example here. This is for hummingbirds. They like the plants that have tubular blooms on them, and butterflies can also utilize this.
So this is a honeysuckle plant, and what variety?
Well, this is our native coral honeysuckle, a wonderful plant for hummingbirds. When it's in full bloom, it's right during the hummingbird migration, and once the flowers have dropped off, then it's starting to set fruit. The fruit will become bright red, and then the birds will come and eat those. So it's providing food for several creatures out there.
Absolutely, and you've just done such an amazing job at really preserving what was here when you purchased the property.
Well, we tried our best to save everything that we could. Preservation saves a lot of expense. If you come in with a bulldozer and scrape everything off and have to build it all back, it takes a lot of money, and you're also not helping the environment. By leaving everything using our envelope concept, just removing the vegetation for the footprint of the house, we're able to save all this stuff. So we didn't have to go out and buy everything. It was already here.
Well, I am so inspired so far, so let's keep going on this tour and see what else you got.
I really think sustainability is the key. Collecting water and taking good care of the earth, these are part of the multiple steps of having a habitat, but the big picture is trying to leave a lighter footprint. And saving water and reducing chemicals and taking good care of the earth, that's just who we are.
Water is another important element to add to your landscape to attract wildlife, right?
More than important, it's critical, absolutely critical. They can go for a while without food, but they have to have water. And recently we had over 65 days of triple digits right here in Austin. So when the temperature is that hot, then critters need water more than anything else. And something as simple as this, like a hole in a rock, makes a great little water feature. Or a saucer with a rock in it. You always want to put a rock in your saucer of water so that if something falls in, like a toad or a skink, they can crawl out. And also having varieties of heights for water. A higher positioning for water keeps birds away from predators. Low positions for water make it possible for toads and skinks and lizards to get to it easily. So very inexpensive and critical for wildlife.
Well, this is beautiful. I love how it's just so natural.
Yeah, yeah.
We've gone over the requirements for a certified wildlife habitat. First is food. Second is providing water, and the third is shelter.
And we've got some good examples here. Here's the low-growing vine for toads and frogs and skinks. And then we've got the mid-story, which is good for some birds like to have a mid-story. They don't want to be too high, they don't want to be too low because they've got to stay away from predators. And then we've got the high shelter, the canopy of the tall trees, and that works.
What about all the rocks that you have here?
Oh yeah, we have tons of rocks. These rocks are great places for animals to hide, get away from predators. It provides great shelter. Some rocks are in the sun where butterflies can go out there and warm their wings on a cold morning. We have rock squirrels that live in some of these rocks.
And the next thing that we need to worry about is making sure that the wildlife has a place to raise their young.
Yes, we have rock piles, we have even log piles where insects can get in there and lay eggs and raise their young. We have nest boxes too for owls and chickadees and titmice, a lot of the cavity nesting birds. You know, even though I'd like to think I have some kind of impact on clean water and clean air and the stuff that's important to me, like the destruction of habitat with massive development and those kinds of things, I really don't have much control over all those things. They're beyond my control. But I can control what I do. And I choose to drive a hybrid vehicle and have solar panels and reduce my energy and water consumption to take good care of this planet. And if I can try to convey my concern for the earth to other people and hopefully share it with others, then I think I've done my job.
Besides the many benefits of native plants for wildlife, some offer healthy, delicious benefits for our life too. Today, Chef Nathan prepares a dish using blueberries. They're native to many parts of the country and a favorite ingredient from salads to desserts.
You know, first thing in the morning, I love a good cup of coffee, but I also like a really good breakfast. That's why today I'm going to make something very simple using these delicious blueberries, which is going to be a baked blueberry clafouti, which is like a baked custard. Super easy, delicious, which is perfect first thing in the morning. Let me show you how easy this is. Get this non-stick saute pan, put it over probably medium-low heat, just like that. A little bit of butter, pop that in there, and just a touch of sugar as well. We're gonna kind of caramelize this just a little bit. Lay this beautifully sweet foundation for this baked blueberry custard. Now what I have to do is crack 5 eggs into this large bowl, and then we'll get the whole thing going. And there we go. Now we're gonna add a little bit of sugar, some granulated sugar, just like this. Now I'm going to quickly whisk this. That's why I like to use these little contraptions first thing in the morning when I'm just waking up drinking coffee. I'm gonna whisk this until it's triple volume and a beautiful canary yellow, which is almost like this lemon over here. Here we go. Yes, 2 minutes? How many minutes? 2 minutes. Look at that. It's nice and foamy, this beautiful light canary yellow. And check this out. Just beautiful. Nice and thick. Now, I'm going to do this by hand now, because I want to deflate this whole process. I like it nice and fluffy. I'm going to add a little bit of AP flour, all-purpose flour, just like this. And we'll mix it in by hand. And a little bit of milk. Let's go whole milk for this particular dish, just like that. All right, so the flour and the milk is in there nice and good. Add the rest of the sugar, maybe another, I don't know, tablespoon. Stir that in. Okay, and we also want to add a little bit of zing in this clafouti, or this baked blueberry custard. That's where this lemon comes into play. This is an organic lemon because I'm using the zest. With this microplane, just add that zest, just like that. Just the yellow part, because if you use a normal grater, you're getting a little bit too deep, and this white part, this pith, is going to be bitter. We just want that full flavor of that lemon zest. There we go. Delicious. Stir that in, and we're ready to go. All right, so the pan is nice and hot. When I add this beautiful custard mix, it should seize right up in the bottom, make a little bit of a crust, which is exactly what we're looking for. There we go. Gorgeous custard. And now the blueberries come in, the star of this particular dish. There we are. Now I have the oven set at 425. It goes in at 425 for about 15 minutes. When it comes back out, breakfast is served. All right, so I've just topped off my first cup of coffee and breakfast is served. It smells amazing. Let's check and see what it looks like. Look at this. That is gorgeous. That is the blueberry clafouti. Fantastic. It's actually a classic French breakfast custard, and I can see why. It's gorgeous. As far as presentation, look at that. I mean, already the kids would go crazy and scramble over that. Also, you know what? If you're more of a blueberry pancake kind of guy, growingagreenerworld.com has my recipe for blueberry ricotta pancakes if your kids like, well, separate plates with separate pancakes. But for this one, check this out. Just a simple slice for everybody, and there's smiles all around. And we'll just plate this up, nice and hot. Steamy, dreamy, guys. And a little bit of confectioner's sugar right over top. Does it get any better than that? 1.5 cups of coffee, 8 minutes of cooking, you have a beautiful blueberry clafouti. Enjoy.
At our house, we love eating blueberries and other berries picked fresh from the garden from our native plants. The challenge, though, is to see if we can get to them before all the birds and other wildlife. But that's why we plant extra, some for them and a few for us.
Dale and Pat's home landscape is a shining example of one couple's determination to make a difference using natives in their certified wildlife habitat.
And if you're ever in the Austin, Texas area, be sure to visit the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center. And it's also a great online resource no matter where you live.
For more information, visit our website at growingagreenerworld.com. I'm Patty Moreno.
And I'm Joe Lample, and we'll see you back here next time for more Growing a Greener World. I love those tips you gave, by the way.
It's just so beautiful what they've got. In their certified wildlife habitat.
If you're ever in the Austin, Texas area, be sure to visit the Lady Bird Johnson.
Whoa!
I felt that coming and I couldn't get out of it.